So, Bezat Hashem, we'll start. Good evening, everyone. Today we're going to speak about names. Names, about our name, about names in general. This topic is a very, very big topic. I was even thinking to not make this shiur, because if I'm going to do this shiur, I would need to do another 5 shiurim about the same topic, because you can't squeeze all the knowledge, the Judaism and the Kabbalah and the Zohar brings about names, about letters, about the combinations of letters in one class. And then they decide to call him in a certain name, under the name of that person that passed away. Yeah? So he passed away very young, and they want to call on his name. Rabbi Azulai says that this is very dangerous. Because again, we say the luck of the person that you call, that you have in mind when you call the baby, his luck is going to be copied to that kid. And there's a lot of stories that people, I don't have time to tell you a few examples, but people that called their babies under a name of someone that passed away in a very bad way, and when he was very young, and that baby had the same end. He had the same luck. Sometimes he passed away in the same way. I know someone that I know him, a family, that the grandfather, he was a pilot, and he died in a plane crash. And they called the grandson on his name, and the grandson also was a pilot because he wants to be, and he died in the same age. So even until that extent, Rabbi Azulai says that this is one of the secrets that the Dibukim was telling him. Dibuk is when a soul of someone gets into a live person. And Rabbi Azulai was talking to those souls, was taking them out of the people. You know, when people get crazy sometimes because of that. And he was talking to those souls, and those souls were telling him a lot of secrets about the life after life. And one of the things they told him, that never ever call a baby on the name of someone that had hard life, or in the name of someone that had that died very early, because the luck, the same mazal, goes to him also. It's a fact. And also for good. That's why we call in the name of tzaddikim, of righteous people. A rabbi that lived 116 years, like Rav Kaduri, Rav Yitzchak Kaduri. So if you call your son Yitzchak on the name, if you have in mind the name of Rav Kaduri, will have a happy, good life, and Bezat Hashem, long life like Rav Kaduri. The luck goes to him also. So sometimes when people were called on the name of someone that suffered a lot and had a lot of challenges and hard things in his life, and he passed away early, would be suggested to go to a rabbi, and to tell him this. And in a lot of cases, the rabbi will add a name. And why will add the name? Because changing a name, we just do in a very, very critical situations. Because changing a name is changing the person. Adding a name is adding energy, adding new things in his life, but we're not changing it completely. That's why adding a name, it's a lot more common and easy to do than changing a name. So people in this situation that I told you, that were called on the name of someone, sometimes they will add a name. People that are very sick, we know the custom to add a name. There's one big rabbi, his name is Chida. Chida, it's not his real name, this is a shortcut of his name. He had 3 names: Chaim, Yosef David Azulai. Azulai is its last name.
Oh, Sephardic.
Yeah, he was a Sephardic, Moroccan. So Chaim David Yosef Azulai, if you take the first letter of each one, it's Chida. Comes to Chida. So everybody calls him the Chida. He's a very known rabbi, 350 years ago. He was a big Kabbalist. He has more than 70 books. Very interesting. And why did he have three names? So the real story is he had only one name. His name was David. But his parents, when he was born before time. Yeah, it's called pag in Hebrew. Premature, yeah. And he was in danger. You know, it's 350 years ago. They didn't have all the technology we have today. He was in danger. And he almost died. One Shabbat, he became all blue. And the grandmother didn't know what to do. So she was warming water on Shabbat, which is not allowed, but in this case that a baby can die, she was warming water, taking the water, doing massage and different things, and praying and tehillim, and she saved his life. And they, because they saw he was so sick, he was very weak, they spoke to big rabbis and they add him another name, Chaim. Usually when we add a name, when someone is in danger, when someone is sick, we add one of those names, Chaim or Yosef, because Chaim means life, and Yosef means to add. So they add him to the word Chaim. So Chaim David, that was his name. But then he became sick again, and he was in danger of life again, and then they decided to add another name to give him more energy and blessing. So they call him Yosef also. So then it comes to Chaim Yosef David Azulai. So in those cases we do change names. There's another...
So when they call him with his initials, it's still his full name?
No, they call him... We call him in his initial, but people didn't call him like that. Because we read his books, and at the end of every letter or whatever he was writing, he was putting the initials. So that's how we call him. But really, that was his name, Chaim Yosef David. Everybody used to call him those three names. Chaim Yosef David. Yeah, we know even today, I know some families, they have two or three names, and they know this information that I told you today, and they are very careful to call in those two names. Yosef Chaim, Israel Meir.
When you have 2 kids, it's okay, but if you have 6 kids...
Yeah, usually it's those who have 10 kids. And then they remember the names of everyone. So I told you, if it's very uncomfortable, so at least once a week or once a month, someone will call them in all those names. It's very, very important. Now names is, there's also something very interesting, because there's names that we usually give to boys, and there's certain names we give to girls. Right? For example, the name Daniel. Daniel, it's a boy's name. How do we know that it's a boy's name? Because in the Torah, the prophet Daniel, that was the first time we see that name. It was given to a prophet, Daniel. It's a very holy name. It's a very good name. It has a little bit of judgments, but it's a good name. Because Din, right? But it's a good name. It has El, the name of Hashem. It's a very balanced name with the letters. So it's a good name. But the name Daniel is a boy's name. And we know for a fact that all the names that were given in the Torah, in the Talmud, in the time of the prophets, the names were given with a lot of thinking. They were, the people back in those days, they knew Kabbalah like we know how to go to our house. They knew what's happening in heaven. Yeah, because this information was given back then, and people were studying that. I'm talking in the Jewish world. And that's why all the names that are shown in the Torah and the Bible and the Navi, the prophets and the Talmud, those names, we know for sure that the energy of those names is very good. That the combination of the letters is very good. That's why it's very important to call a name that has a biblical source. Because those things we know for sure that it's good. Today people, they invent names, you know. I don't know how they do that, yeah. Today there's so like weird names, you know. Like they call their kids in it's even funny to say the names, you know. Thai. What's a Thai? Yeah, there's a name today in Hebrew. Yeah, they call it in Israel Thai. But what? A chicken Thai. What's a Thai? Why you call him a Thai? A Thai. That's a name. Well, who invented that name? They like the sound. That's not how you pick a name. You pick a name. Usually we don't. If you don't know all the Kabbalah, it's better you give a name that has a source, because we know for sure that those names, they are good.
What about
Yeah.
Rachel? Do you call it in the Hebrew name? Or
Yeah, fair. So I'll tell you, the best thing to do is to call it in the Hebrew name, because at the end of the day, the English name is ivut. Ivut, it's a change, right?
but if you
Your
spell
name
it
is
right,
Rachel, not Rachel. Rachel, it's tzaddik, chel. Yeah, it's different.
or Rebecca and Rivka,
Right.
it's the same.
Yeah, that's why if you look in Jewish family, those who are observant, yeah, they don't call their kids Rebecca, come home. No, they say Rivka.
No, I'm saying for myself, I'm Rivka.
Yeah.
So Israelis, yeah, it's easier for them to say Rivka. But if I tell people like Americans or Canadians, Rivka,
Yeah.
they spell it
Right,
wrong.
you're right. That's a problem of a lot of people that live in Canada and United States, right? People don't understand. Yeah, but I had the same problem. My name is Israel. Israel. Yeah. So when people ask me what's your name, I'm gonna tell him Israel. He's gonna say what? Like they can't pronounce it even.
Yeah.
So that's why, you know what? Okay, fine. So for you, I'll tell you my name is Israel. Yeah, even though it's weird, but that's my name. And you will say my name is Rebecca. But for the family, which they call you most of the times, right?
Mommy.
Yeah, right. Okay. No, but your husband or your mother, father, your aunts and sisters and all those people, ask him, please call me in my name, so it's gonna be effective. Rivka, yeah, Yitzchak, Daniel. That's very, very important. We even don't understand how much it's important. Sometimes you lose your energy because people doesn't call your real name. You just lose your energy. You lose your blessing. It's very, very important for people to call you in your real name. That's why, yeah, ask your friends to do that. So, what we were talking about. That's why I like questions at the end. Huh? Oh yeah, Daniel. So Daniel is it's a boy's name.
That's right.
We see it in the Bible. So be'emet, if you give it to a girl, I'm not saying it's not allowed to, but it's better not.
I agree.
Why? Because again, this name was given to a man because his parents, they knew Kabbalah and they knew that this name fits a man. The luck that a man needs. And that's all was given to a man. When you go and say, I like the name, but I want to give it to a girl, then it's not 100%. That's why, again, if your name is Daniel and you're a girl, I'm not saying to change your name, no. I'm just saying, lechatchila, from the beginning, that's how we should do. To give a boy a name of a boy and a girl a name of a girl according to the Jewish sources. It's very, very important to do so. Again, I'm not saying to change name if it was not done like that, right? It's individual. We have to see the life of a person and more things to see if to change or to add something. But the name has if it's boys or a girl, boy or a girl, has a big effect, and it's very important. When we see that even one letter from a name, is very, very important. Even if you add one letter or you remove one letter, it's a big deal. Not just because of the elements, like we spoke before. There's also a spiritual power to every letter that makes us who we are. And I'll give you an example from the Torah. Abraham and Sarah, both of them, their name was changed. Avram, if you look in the sources, his name was Avram, without the letter Hey. That's how it's written in the beginning of the Torah. Always Avram, Avram. And Sarah, her name was Sarai. So Shin, Reish, and Yud. Then she couldn't get pregnant. And Avram also didn't have kids. And then Hashem tells Avraham, you need to change your name. Avraham doesn't believe, because he was a big astrologist. There's a book today, all the Jewish astrology that we know, and the secrets of the letters, and the secrets of the Kabbalistic healing, and all those things are written in Sefer Yetzirah. It's a small book that has a lot of deep things inside, and it was written by Avraham. That's one of the oldest books we have today. Sefer Yetzirah. A lot of the information I give you in my lectures is from that book. So in Sefer Yetzirah, Avraham knew all the mazalot, all the signs, the astrology, and how it affects. And he knew that the hour that he was born, the star that was in charge at that hour, it's a certain star that if you're born in that star, you can't have children. So he knew for a fact that he can't have children. Not just he, also his wife, she was Ilonit. Ilonit in Hebrew, it's a lady that doesn't even have a womb. She didn't have a womb. So for sure she can't get pregnant. So Avraham knew there's no chances. God comes to Avraham and says, Avraham, come outside for a second. He comes outside. He tells him, look at the stars. He looks at the stars, says, you see how many stars, can you count them? He says, no, I can't. He says, that's how many children you're going to have. That's how many, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, and a whole nation going to come out of it. He says, what do you mean? I know for sure, astrology, this is a fact. This is you, creator. I know I'm not going to have kids. So then God tells him, Avraham, I want to tell you a secret. You are right. Avraham can't have children, but Avraham can have children. You're right, Sarai can't have children, but Sarah can have a children. You change your name, I'll add you a letter Hey, and Sarai remove the letter Yud and I give her a letter Hey. Because a Yud is a very man power letter, and a Hey is a women power letter. That's why every Russian lady in the world, her name ends with a Hey. Yeah, try that. I tried to find one Russian name without a Hey in the end. Tanya, Sveta, Masha, right? Everything is with Hey.
You're so right.
Yeah, try it at home. Anyways, why Hey? Because Hey, it's a female letter. It's a female energy letter. If a man has a lot of Hey in his name, he's gonna have a lot of female feelings.
You're right.
And yeah, right. So Avraham, he didn't have that power of Yeludah, having children, which it's a female thing. So he had him this name, Hey, this letter solely, and also to Sarah, and they could have children. Sometimes that's what certain Kabbalists do when a lady can't get pregnant. Sometimes, I'm not saying to do it again. Everything it's individual, you have to go and ask. But they add the letter Hey to the husband or to the wife. Sometimes. And it helps, like God did. So you see that a changing of one letter can change the whole situation. To have children. And even to have a miracle, because Sarah didn't have a womb. And there was a miracle that she got a womb, and then she got a baby. Yitzchak. So that's how every letter is important and change in our life. Now, there's also certain power in the name of the person, that when we call, as we said before, when you call the person in his name, so you basically call his soul. You reach his soul and you connect to his soul. That's why the best way to wake up a person is to call his name with a Hebrew pronunciation. Right? So if your name is Rachel, so if you tell her Rachel, she will wake up right away. Why? Because you call the soul in its name. And I check that, You can say Rachel, maybe also, but always the right pronunciation. And when you say the name of that person, his soul comes back. Because what happens when we sleep? The soul goes away, a certain part of the soul. And when you mention the name again, so you are waking up the soul in heaven, boom, comes back. That's how the power of saying a name of a person. And that's what I told you from before. If you want to connect to someone, call him by his name. By the way, it's a big trick for businessmen, by the way. If you have a client and you want the client to like you, to be more connected to you, so you tell him, what's your name? And then he will tell you his name. Let's say Yosef. And then every time you talk to them, say his name all the time. Yosef, this item is for you. Tell him his name. The more you will tell him his name, he will be more connected to you. It's a business trick, according to Kabbalah. And I don't know, maybe also it's known, but it's connecting. It's connecting because name, it's him. This is who are you. Another thing very interesting that we can do with our name to get some energy, to get some powers. Sometimes we feel empty. We feel no powers to life. And we want to get some power, some energy. So your name is your energy. If you will write your name down and you will make a meditation on your name, you will get a lot of powers. More than that, if you will write your name and you will write your full name, when you full your name, what does that mean to full your name? Is to take every letter and to break it. So for example, if your name is Sarah, with the letter Shin, Reish, and Hey. So Shin, how you write the letter Shin? Shin, Yud, Nun. Shin, the way you say it. Reish is Reish, Yud, Shin. Hey is Hey, Aleph. Or Hey, you can write it this way. This is called to feel your name. Lemalot et Hashem. The more you do it, milui or milui sheba milui, feeling of the feeling, the more you write it and you look at it, you get a very big amount of energy. Try it. In Hebrew. The Ben Ish Chai says that. He says, if you want to get blessing, spirituality, so write your name, Yosef, and then break the name, Yud Vav Daled, which is Yud. Samech Pei, Vav Vav, right? Pei is Pei Hey. Break it. And if you can break again more than that, even do it 3 times. And then, if you can look at it, or even just say it, Yud Vav, this is you bring the energy of yourself back to you. It's a Kabbalistic thing, and a lot of Kabbalists, they do it every morning. They do it every morning to get high spiritual levels. There's another way to do it. It's a different thing. It's with combination of letters to combine your name with the word neshama. Neshama, it's the soul. When you combine your letters with the letters of neshama, of soul, you're basically connecting yourself to your soul in heaven. Because each one of us we have 5 parts of soul. Nefesh, ruach, neshama, haya, yechida. The last part of soul, yechida, is in heaven. It's not here. And this is the source where we get all our blessing and energy in life. Sometimes a lot of times we are disconnected from that. If you want to connect yourself there, one of the ways to do it, and the best thing to do it, is in the morning. And if you can do it right away when you just wake up, the first thing to do is to look at your name combined with the word neshama. So how you do that? You take the word neshama, nun, and after the first letter of neshama, nun, you add the first letter of your name. Let's say is Yossi, so nun, yud. And then the second letter of neshama is shin, vav, and the letter from your name. And write it down and have it in a piece of paper. And when you wake up in the morning, first thing you do, take this piece of paper and look at those letters. The combination of the neshama with your name. And Arizal says if you do it, at that moment, when you wake up in the morning, you break your evil inclination for the whole day. You just bring so much energy and light to your life that the evil inclination would not have powers to seduce you or to do whatever he wants to do. And that's a big trick that people use, to control themselves better during the day. Because evil inclination is very hard, especially in our times. So we need some pills, I call it. Yeah, motivation pills or whatever. So those pills, it's those letters that you can just look at them. Because every letter has a tremendous power. It's something, we need to have few shiurim just about how letters work. Letters work, that's why we read the Torah. And we look at the letters. When the letters are written in a klaf, in an animal's leather, that's even, if you can get someone that writes mezuzot or tefillin, don't come to me, but someone else. I don't know if I'm going to have time for that. But you go, if you know someone that writes, if you can ask him to have a piece of leather, to take a piece of leather that we write mezuzot or tefillin on, and to write there your name, or to write the combination of your name with the word neshama, and you start with the neshama, nun, and then the first letter of your name, shin, and the second letter of your name, mem, and the third letter of your name, and then hey, and the third and the fourth letter of your name, and if you have more letters, so just continue with those letters. Yeah. But write it if you can, even in a piece of paper is good. But if you can write it on a piece of leather, like a sofer that writes it, that's even more effect to that. To look at that in the morning, on any other time that you feel a little bit of depressed, or you feel there's no energy, there's no power, or you go down in spirituality, look at that. Will give you a lot of power and especially against the evil inclination. So that's another thing we can do with our name every day. We don't have a lot of time, but maybe I'll mention another thing. The people, every person has its name, and each one of us, we have a big responsibility to call him in his name and to not change his name, because what we said today, that it has a big effect on him. So it's very important for each one of us to not give nicknames to people. And this is not just to give them the energy they need and to connect them to the source of their soul. It's also sometimes when you call someone in a nickname or you give him a name, this is sometimes can even be one of the worst sins in the Torah. The Torah says that we're not allowed to call someone in a name that he will be embarrassed of this name. Yeah, it's called Mechaneh Shem Lechavero En Lo Chelek La'olam Haba. If someone give a nickname to someone and that person doesn't like it, and he feels, embarrassed because of that, it says you don't have a share in the world to come. It's very bad. And I'll tell you, personally, I know that this is very important because I know in my neighborhood we had a guy, kids always, call names, and there was one guy that almost, committed suicide because of that. Because they were always laughing at him and call him in a certain name that he really felt bad, And those things are not a joke. It's very important. We have a responsibility not just to call him in his Hebrew name and his right name. Also, we have to be very careful to not call someone in a name that he doesn't like. And this is mamash a mitzvah from the Torah. I said I'm going to mention it because I see it all over. People, calling, someone doesn't have hair, so they call him, what's the name for that? Huh? Okay, yeah, so kereach in Hebrew. Yeah, so he doesn't have hair. Someone is a little bit fat or a little bit skinny, so they call him the skinny Alex or whatever. So that's not a good thing to do. That's not a good idea. And a lot of times things happens to us, bad things happens to us just because of that. We call people in certain names and they don't like it, and then there's judgments on us. And it closes our luck. So of course we have to ask for forgiveness from those people or just to stop doing it, right? So therefore we fulfill what the Torah says, and also we respect each one with his name, the name that was given that was given to him when he was born. So if we're going to summarize the lecture today, and again I told you from here and there. By the way, just before that I said I'm going to speak about last names. Last name doesn't have a really effect on the person. All what we're talking about that affects the person and the reality of the person and the luck of the person is his first name. The last name is just for, recognizing from what family you came or stuff like that. And that's what you see all over the Torah. People were called, there was no last names. Even, I think 200 or 300 years ago, there was last names. Maybe more than something like 1,000 years ago, there was no last names, and the way they used to recognize people is by the father's name. So, for example, Yosef ben Shimon. So they knew that Yosef ben Shimon, that was his last name, the son of Shimon. That was the last name back then, and then it changed to the occupation of people. So, for example, if your grandfather was a carpenter, yeah. So they call him Yohanan the carpenter, and then sometimes that's also today. If you realize the last names that we have, for example, we have the last name of Gabbai. What's Gabbai? Gabbai is a Gabbai. Gabbai is the one who's in charge of synagogue. So Gabbai. So he had a grandfather that he was a big Gabbai, and that's why from that time they said, okay, that's gonna be our last name. Or you have last names like Shochet. Yeah, Shochat. What's Shochet? Shochet is a slaughter. Yeah, that's where, or Katzav. Katzav is also a butcher. Yeah, my last name is Yakobov. Why Yakobov? Because at the place where my parents or my grandparents lived, there was someone that his name was Yaakov, and at that place the minhag, the custom was to add an ov, right? So Yaakov Ov, and then someone that his name is Issachar Ov, and someone is Yehuda Yov. Right, so that's how those last names came. That's why there's no really meaning to the last names. That's why you can change the last name, no problem. If you don't feel connected to your last name, change it. Rabbi Ovadia Yosef changed his last name. His last name was not Yosef. He actually changed that. So that's why last name there's no problem, but the first name is very, very important. and it's a if we're gonna summarize all what we spoke about today, that if you have a baby born, before you decide a name, you can pick a name because it's a prophecy that comes to the father and the mother. You can pick a name, but it's a good thing to ask for an advice from a rabbi to say if this is a good name, especially if this name is not from the sources of Torah. It's better to not call that name because we are not familiar today with all the knowledge about energies of every letter and all the elements. That's why if you don't know Kabbalah, don't make up a name. Call a name that is already exist from the Torah, from the Nevi'im, from the Talmud. And if you needed to change a name in case of illness, or someone is sick, or his life is like very, very bad, things happening to him, or they call him in a bad name, or they call him not in a Jewish name, and this not Jewish name is a bad not Jewish name, right? Because it was called under a bad person. On a name of someone that was very not a very positive person. So in this case, would be suggested to go to a rabbi and to tell him the story and to ask him, maybe he will add a name, or sometimes we will need to change the name. B'ezrat Hashem, maybe we'll speak more about that topic in another time. I want to bless all of you before the questions. Hashem will give you a lot of nachat and bracha. All what you do, you should be successful. And B'ezrat Hashem, we should get the shefa, the energy of each one of us, what we should get every day because of our name. We should get it every day, B'ezrat Hashem, from Hashem, with blessing and success. Amen. Amen.
Amen.
Ken Tzaddik.
So, what about in the times of like vicious anti-Semitism? Would it be permitted to change the name?
I didn't get
like
the
in
question.
times of anti-Semitism, like for example in the past, like even right now, of course, like there's
To
still
change the name so
anti-Semitism.
they don't recognize you or something like that. That's what you mean?
Like to be safe, so that you're safe.
Oh, to be
Yeah.
safe, so they don't know that you're Jewish or something like
Yeah.
that. Yeah, you change the name officially, but really your family call you in your name. Yeah, a lot of people, they ask me a similar question. They say, my name is Rachel, but my English name is I don't know, something else. So everybody calls me by the English name. So nobody calls me in the Hebrew name. So if nobody calls you in the Hebrew name is not effective. If someone calls you in your Hebrew name, so there's an effect to your Hebrew name. But if nobody calls you in that name, so it doesn't have an effect on you. Yeah, that's why your name is the name that is used the most in your life. If people use another name sometimes, it has also an effect on you. But if there's a name that nobody uses, just somewhere in the air, that's my name, my grandmother gave it to me when I was born, but nobody really used it, this name has no effect on you, and this is not your name.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have a question. You said it's not a good idea to call, let's say, boy by girl's name or vice versa. But I remember once you were telling about this story, I don't remember the story, but about Rabbi, that he liked his mother-in-law so much that he took her name.
No, he took her last name.
Oh, last
Ah.
name.
Yeah,
Okay.
there was a rabbi that took,
Oh, okay.
he changed his last name to Idlis because of his mother-in-law, that she was raising him and everything. So
Okay.
that's why.
The second question, which name would you suggest to add to woman, let's say she's very sick? Like you said, for the boy it's good to Chaim, Yosef. Is there any specific name for women to
Yeah,
add?
so sometimes they add
Which would be
yeah.
the good Hebrew name
Yeah.
to add to women's name?
So again, it also depends on the name that she has,
Hannah.
right? Yeah. So we
She's
want
Hannah.
to make it balanced with the name that she's already have. But usually the custom is to add Chaya, like they say, right? Chaya, which is life. Sometimes they will have. It's all depends on the name itself. If the name
Her name
Beca-
is Hannah.
Yeah. So
Chaya would be-
Chaya could work, but there's another two chets.
Yeah.
That's not always a good idea. But we have to think. Sometimes we don't just add a name that mean life. We can just add Sarah, right? So it's all depends on the name. That's why it's very individual. Yeah.
Is it good or bad energy when like anti-Semites like make fun of Hebrew names? Is that giving us good energy or bad energy when anti-Semites
Just don't pay attention to
make
this.
fun? So it's bad energy.
They don't. You know, the more you holy, the more you're spiritual. Every word you say has more power. So, if a religious Jew, someone that keeps the Torah and doesn't talk bad things like lashon hara and
Telling people
rechilut is
gossip.
gossip and stuff like that. The more you keep your mouth and your actions are good, you go by Torah, your mouth is very strong. And when you call someone in his name, you're going to have a big effect. It's going to have a bigger effect than someone else that doesn't have that. And if you give a blessing to someone, it also will have a big effect. That's why people that are very low, like you said, anti-Semite, those people, they are very, very, very low. Whatever they say has no meaning for us. And don't worry, people that are very, very low spiritual, whatever they say has no big influence unless he's a spiritual person. Or he was born in a luck. Some people were born in a luck that whatever they say happens. So, but we don't know who are those people. That's why we just don't pay attention.
That's right.
Yeah. More questions? No.
The letter that
Yeah.
you were referring to, it's in Hebrew.
Yeah.
So the sheen, it's in Hebrew, it's not like SH in English, right?
Right. Again, if your name is Shira, you will write it SH in English, but the real name is
But
the
like Adina, in Hebrew, it's Ein Dalet Yud Nun Hey, but in English
Judgment.
it's Hey.
right
So
Adina.
what do you,
No. So the English has no meaning for that.
so the first letter is Ein.
Of course, yeah, Ein. That's the first letter. Okay.
Thank you.
ברכה והצלחה.